Welcome back, everyone. I'm Becca,
I'm Kelly.
and on this channel we like to encourage moms in homemaking, in motherhood, in marriage. We put up a question box on my Instagram and on Facebook asking you guys to send in some questions for us to answer, and so that's what we're going to do today. I don't know if we're going to get through all of them today, but we're going to try our best. So starting right from the top, this is kind of Mom's realm. She's very good at this. What do you do for meal planning or prep?
Meal planning and prep. So I'm a little backwards on meal planning because I like to shop frugally. So I'm not the type of person that plans my meals and then goes shopping. I go shopping, buy whatever's on sale, and then I plan my meals accordingly. So I don't necessarily have set plans for the whole week. I kind of, whatever I feel like today, I took out chicken, and I also took out pork for later in the week, and whatever I feel like making when that time comes, that's what I'll make. That's probably not what works for everybody, and it didn't work for me when I was raising children. I don't know if you remember this or not, but every once in a while I would have a family meeting and have everybody write down their favorites.
I do not remember that at all.
You don't remember doing that?
Maybe
Well,
I was too little to write.
Maybe you
I
were.
don't know.
And this is when I would get in a funk, like, okay, I don't know what to make. I'm sick of the same things all the time. And so you're cooking for several people who all like different things. And so I would just make a list, and then as things went on sale, I would have the meals that everybody liked. So everybody was getting their favorite. They might not like everything every time, but their favorites were coming in the rotation at some point. So that's kind of how I did meal planning. And for prep, one of the things I like to do is, like, if I'm going to be cooking one chicken, I might as well cook 2 or 3 chickens, and then I'll having cooked meat on hand.
Yeah, that's huge.
Is a very easy
time saver.
Time
Money
saver.
So that you're not stuck
Yes.
at 4 o'clock with frozen meat, and then you're like, oh, I should probably just go grab.
Yeah. Then you're heating your
whatever.
oven up once, and so
Yeah.
it's saving on electricity. I will just have frozen ground beef, chicken. Those are the 2 main things that I try to keep cooked on hand that I can just take out real quick. You can make tacos. You can make spaghetti, a casserole. Yeah, anything like that. And with chicken, same thing. Chicken sandwiches or
Chicken stew.
Yes, that just easy. And then if I make a lasagna or a stew or something big, because now we're down to 2 people in my house, I will freeze portions so that on a night that I don't feel like cooking, I take out a homemade freezer meal and heat it up, and that's what works for us.
I mean, I pretty much answer the same way because I was raised by her. So
Unfortunately for her.
I mean, what?
I said unfortunately for you.
No,
some of my quirks.
Fortunately. Yeah, I do the same thing when I go grocery shopping. I look at the sales flyers first, I look at my coupons, and then I shop from there. I fill in non-sale items for stuff that we use all the time, like cream.
Right.
We are always going to buy. We're always going to buy milk that never goes on sale.
Right.
But as far as like our stuff for meals, it's all from sales flyers, and then I just pull from the freezer and make meals from that. So I don't really, like on Sunday, I'm not like putting my grocery order together. I'm like, oh, I feel like making meatballs this week. I feel like making this.
Right.
If I see that ground beef is like $6 a pound, we're not having meatballs.
Right.
Because we just can't do that. So yeah, I pretty much the same as Mom. I just shop from the sales and then make my meals around that.
Right. That could be a good challenge for us sometime to put together a meal plan. One thing that's very helpful is to create a back stock.
Yes.
And shopping this way helps you do that. So if I go and look in my pantry, then I can see really quickly, okay, I have got all of the different tomato products, I have different bean products, vegetables, all the canned goods that I buy. I can look at it very quickly and see what the gaps are. These are the things, like you're talking about, that you buy all the time, use all the time.
Yep.
If they go on a great sale, great.
Stock up.
Buy
Buy
a
a whole
lot
case.
of them. Like Alan and I have been known before to buy 100 cans of tuna fish. It got made fun of very much, but we're then we only spent $1 on 1 can of solid white tuna in water.
Yeah, and you're not going to see that again for a long
And
time.
so we, that's something that he likes to have for his sandwiches or for lunches, and it's not something I eat a lot of, but we were made fun of saying you're gonna have tuna for years and years,
but I do get
it. So I'm never buying that at the $3 a can that it usually is. Like when it goes on a sale, I buy a lot, and the same with meat. So if chicken is on sale this week, I'm gonna spend a significant portion of my grocery budget on chicken, and then the rest of it's gonna go in the freezer. So then next week it might be pork, or the next week it might be ground beef, whatever that meat is, especially for proteins, because those tend to be the most expensive parts of our grocery budget. I'm going to buy a lot of that week. And so then after a few weeks or months of this, you have got a pretty good stash.
And you can skip a week of grocery shopping if you need to.
That's
if you have something else that you need to put your money towards, then you're not left with nothing.
Yes.
You have stuff to pull from.
This actually just happened to us this last month. And so in January, I was just telling our girls yesterday, I try to set aside $125 a week for groceries, and I'm challenging myself to take that out in cash, because it's very easy for this part of your budget to get blown out because things are expensive. And so I did that through the whole month of January. There were 5 Fridays, and that's when we get paid on Friday. So there was 1 week I didn't go grocery shopping at all. And this includes all of our toiletries and our detergents and paper products, things like that. That's all in this $125 a week budget. I cook from scratch pretty much all the time. So that's a little caveat. We don't buy prepackaged food that much. Once in a while.
We never go out to eat.
We don't hardly ever go out to eat. Could count on one hand for the entire year how much we go out to eat. And that includes ordering pizza, because we would make homemade pizza. We just don't do it. For one thing, we like homemade cooking better. Plus, we know what's in the ingredients are. Plus, it does save a lot of money. So the month of January, I think I told you I still had $167
something like that
left in that account, cash, and I have a little envelope. And 1 week I didn't even go grocery shopping because I didn't need to. And I don't love grocery shopping. That's the thing. I don't love it. But I do like saving, and I do like budgeting. So it does help a lot.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be going to Sam's Club at the end of the week. And so I want to be able to have some cash to spend on things that I only purchase there, because they're cheaper.
Like
Rice and maple syrup. Organic maple syrup is cheapest at Sam's from anywhere else I found, and we use that quite a bit, as I know you do too.
Yeah, we go through like a whole jug a week.
Yes, and there's a few different things there. Honey, fresh fruit there, cream cheese, butter. Those things are very much cheaper at Sam's than in the local grocery store. So, anyways, just those are some of the tips and tricks that I use for. Yeah. I kind of went off the rails a little bit there.
I think that the deeper you go, that's what people really want to hear.
Well, and budgeting is part of how I meal plan. It's actually the foundation of how I meal plan. And so...
we don't meal plan based on cravings.
No.
We'd go broke.
Yes, we definitely would. Not to say that we don't ever say, I really want this. Yeah. And if I have the money to go do it, for a date. So speaking of going out to eat and things like that, a lot of people will do that for a date. And so now that we have, we're empty nesters and have no children in the home, so a date night for us might be, okay, we're going to go buy expensive steaks and prepare them and eat them at home and have a date night in, but a dinner that we really wouldn't normally go eat. And it is still going to be a lot less expensive than going out to eat for that same meal. Yeah. And we prepare it together. We chat while we do it. Alan and I both enjoy doing that now that we're, able to do that once in a while. Yeah. And it's still a treat.
What is your go-to easy meal for crazy days?
Do you have one?
What I automatically think of, I don't know if it's easy, Well, it is easy, but it's not like a throw together in 30 minutes kind of thing. We do, it's actually my plan for tonight, sourdough, stromboli, hand pies. And so I do that quite often when I don't know what to make, because I know everyone will eat it, which is a huge thing when you have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old at the table. So I do that a lot. And another one would probably be tacos. We do a lot of tacos. Because I know that's another one that the kids will eat, and it's easy protein, and usually I have everything on hand for that.
Yeah. So mine would be either the meals I prepared ahead and can just pull out of the freezer.
Oh yeah, that would
that would be my probably my number one. But if I don't have that, then almost always I'm going to have something I can throw a soup together. We love soup. But not always do I have that. One of the main things that I would probably be able to throw together in, what did it say, half an hour?
No, just go to easy meal.
Go to easy meal.
Yeah.
Jambalaya. Because you can use any type of meat, but usually I will use kielbasa and rice and black beans and diced tomatoes or rotel and some seasonings, onion, green pepper. It's a one-pot meal. It's all...
Oh, I don't know why I didn't say stir fry. We have stir fry all the time. Yeah,
that's
I would
an
say
easy one too.
Yeah, stir fry over the stromboli hand pies, because I always have rice. I always have a meat and a veggie that I can fry up, and then I make homemade Chick-fil-A sauce because my son loves homemade Chick-fil-A sauce.
And then also you can't beat breakfast for supper.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Toast, scrambled eggs.
Yeah. The only thing is I need leftovers for my husband's lunch the next day.
Yeah.
But yeah, your go-to easy meals would be mine as well, but with how picky my kids are, I know they're not going to eat it, so I have to, if I want them to eat, I have to make things that they're going to eat. So
yeah, we have a saying for the nights that I truly don't want to do anything, or we know we're going to be just getting home and then having to turn right around and go back out. Wednesday nights are a good example of this because we have church. I get home from work earlier if I work on Wednesday. I don't always, but if I do, I get home much earlier than Alan does. But he gets home pretty close to the time that we have to turn right around and go back. And so we call it fend for yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's just, you just look around.
I hated those nights.
Find whatever you can find, and
it's usually buttered toast for me. Yeah, it was fend for yourself.
So we do have a fend for yourself every once in a while, but but easy. I tend to cook easy anyway. That's just kind of how I do it. Once in a while, I'll have a great big production, but generally we're pretty easy, simple people.
Yep. What are your tips for organizing your kitchen and or your house if you don't have closets?
Tips for organizing the kitchen and the house, both, would be get rid of things you don't need, because they just take up they take up space. It takes more effort to have to maintain it. So for the kitchen, I like to have zones, and so if I was to come in and say you want your help with organizing your kitchen, the first things I would do is start asking you questions. Where do you stand to cook? If you have a dishwasher, where is it located in your kitchen? Do you have cabinets around it? If you have a pantry, where is that located? So once you have the answer to all those things, then I would say take everything out of every cupboard. Take it all out, throw away everything that's expired or that you don't use. Donate it or throw it away. Don't keep things you're not going to use. If you have spices that you bought for one dish 6 years ago and you've never touched it again, get rid of it. Like, you don't need it. You're not going to use it. So don't keep things that you don't need, because it takes up space that you could be using for something you do need.
That's what I did with the cheesecake pan when I first got married. I had one and I thought I was going to make cheesecakes, and I never did. So every time you came down and we reorganized, I would keep it, and I would keep it, and I would keep it. And then finally, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, I finally just said, I'm probably never going to make a cheesecake.
And you can borrow mine if you
Exactly. And if I do make a cheesecake, I'm sure I know somebody that has a pan, but at this point in my life, I don't see myself doing that. So I ended up donating it.
Yes. Yeah, so just be ruthless. You have to be ruthless, because unless you have a huge kitchen and you have
Endless
all
amount of
kinds
space.
of space to put the things that you don't use much. I don't. We downsized. I live in a small house. I have a fairly small kitchen, but I try to make it efficient. So when for instance, when I am taking my dishes out of my dishwasher, I can stand right beside my dishwasher without moving, put all of my silverware away, all of my plates and cups and bowls and my plasticware, all right there. I don't have to go anywhere else. Then I have another cabinet not far away where I have my mugs, and then I have my baking stuff, but that's in another zone because that's where I have my baking products.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to stand basically in one spot, I'm to do my baking or cooking, I have those supplies in that zone. I have my spices there. I have my sugars and oils and all of those things right above the cabinets where I have my mixing bowls, because it's just easier to just stand in one spot and grab what you need, rather, unless you want the steps. I mean, you could, if you're on a fitness journey and you want, 10,000 steps and have it all over the place and go on a scavenger hunt. I don't know, but I'm a little lazier than that. So I just create zones and get rid of everything I don't need and just make it so that it's accessible where I do need. Don't keep expired food. I mean, canned goods are good way past the date, so I'm not saying that. But if you've got things, especially that you don't use, just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Keep a good rotation. Keep it tidy. As far as bedrooms and things like that, without closets, some different things you could do is have a bed that has drawers under it, or a bureau. Yes. Yeah. And so
that's where I keep all of our homeschool stuff, any board games, craft supplies, and it makes it so much easier. It's pretty.
Yes. Well, and in the house you lived in before, you basically kind of did the family closet.
Yeah.
A version of that with the kids' clothes. Yeah. You had a closet in your room, but the kids didn't have a closet.
There was all in the laundry room. I had a bureau in there that had all of their clothes in it.
Yeah,
which made it handy.
Yeah, and we have a friend that has, she calls it the family closet. It's a room in her house that she was able to dedicate to just having all of the clothes for the whole family. She has bins, everything separated. So if you have space like that, or hooks on. And another thing too here is get rid of what you don't need. If you don't have the space to have all the clothes for all the next, then you just don't have it.
Right, so someone wants to know how we feed our starter. Do we feed it in ratios? Do we always feed it the same? We feed ours very differently.
Yeah.
I don't really do ratios. I do it based on the consistency that I see. So usually I'll start out with like a cup of flour and like a little less than a cup of water, and then I just go from there. What I'm looking for is like thicker, a little bit thicker than a pancake batter, almost like a cake batter. And if I see that, then I'm good. I never use a kitchen scale ever.
Yeah. So I do use a kitchen scale sometimes. I don't always weigh out my starter when I'm gonna feed it, like if I'm gonna make bread. Sometimes I do, depending on if I need to wash the container that day or not. But I will zero it out with the starter in it. And then I will add around 50 to 75 grams of of water, warm water. And then I double whatever I do for water, I double flour.
So that would be a 1 to 2?
1 to 2 to 3.
Okay.
I think is what it is.
Okay.
And so I like my starter pretty stiff, a lower hydration. So I like the results. I get consistent results with my bread when I've done that. So I also am looking for a consistency which would be even stiffer than the cake, like you said. Yeah. Mine is pretty
kind of like a muffin.
More like a muffin, and maybe even sometimes a little bit stronger than a muffin.
Biscuit.
More like a biscuit dough, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably more.
Interesting.
That's how my bread behaves. I have my timing down when I do that. I'm not staying up till midnight baking bread anymore because I don't know when it's gonna rise or whatever. So that's basically what I do. Yeah. So it's I weigh it ish.
Okay.
Sort of. But I go by the looks of it more than anything else.
And they also asked, do we always feed it the same, and why do you feed it differently if you do? I feed mine differently if I notice that it's like starting to get a little bit weaker. If it gets like super thin and runny, then I know that it's hungry, and so I'll feed it a little stiffer. If I notice that it's a little too thick, then I'll add a little bit more water. That's the only time they really feed it differently. I guess I just feed it differently every time, really.
Yeah. I feed it pretty much consistently the same, but it just depends on what I'm going to do with it. If I'm only going to bake my typical 2 sandwich loaves, which is what I do basically every week, then I'm not really going to change it up a whole lot. But if I want to try a couple of different things, I'll increase it. If I want to do a sourdough skillet and if I want some leftovers, if I want some discard, because there's a lot of good discard recipes, I'll feed it more so that I'll have discard.
Yes.
So
that's a good point.
So that's basically, for the most part, if I'm just going to be making my 2 loaves of bread every week, I'm just going to do the same thing because that's what works.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on what I'm going to be doing with it.
Yeah. And another person asked how to make a starter or not kill it. Neither of us have experience with this, actually. We're not experts by any stretch of the imagination.
Not even a little bit.
I did make my first starter from scratch. It took the typical 10 days that it normally does, but it was difficult. But back then, I always say I was a rule follower with sourdough, and I ended up killing it because I thought I had to keep it on the counter at all times and ended up molding and all that. So then I took a year or two break, and I did not want to start it from scratch again. So I actually got some from my neighbor, and that's the same starter that she has. So she took some from mine, and we both still have those same ones going. So we don't really have tips for how to start it from scratch. My best advice is just find someone that does make it already and just get some. There's no reason to start it by yourself. It's just a headache, and it's not necessary.
I did the same thing. I had started my own, and actually it was going pretty good. And we have a few people at our church that do sourdough, and we're kind of always, like, if one of us kills it, when we borrow from the other. So we're kind of all using the same starter, but we've all had to borrow from each other at one point or another. But I had my first original one that I had started myself, and I was having a hard time getting the hang of it, but I was also very new to all of it. Yeah,
and you were working a lot back then, so you didn't have a ton of time to dedicate to it.
And so I had it going pretty good, and one of the girls had actually needed new starter, and so I had given it to her. And actually, I think I had brought some down to you too.
Yeah, because I put mine in the oven. Yep.
And so it was going pretty good. And after I had literally the day after I had given some to her, I went to go, and mine it had a green string in it. How it got a green string in it, I have no idea, but it killed it anyway. It was I could not revive it. I tried, and I gave up for a little while because I was so frustrated with it. And then I think I came down to visit you at some point.
Yeah, probably a year and a half ago.
Yes, and so I've had the same one since then, and have been able to keep. I've tried to be very careful, not to, if I'm stirring it, I'm using a clean utensil to stir it, because I don't even know how I got the green thread in the other one. I have no idea. It's not like I leave it sitting out with, and have a lot going on. I don't. And now I cover it. I do cover it and keep it in the refrigerator if I'm not going to be baking.
I keep mine in the refrigerator too. Yeah, sometimes I'll keep it on the counter to get it to room temp so that I can heat it and it will rise faster, but other than that.
I've found that if I just use a little bit, not hot water, but a little warmer water in that instance to feed it, it activates it. So, I mean, that's just what works for me, but like we said, absolutely not. Anything I know, I've learned from another YouTuber.
Yep.
So,
pretty much.
Lisa Bass, Farmhouse on Boone, she's really good.
Yeah, she's the one who got me into it originally in 2020.
So I've watched a lot of hers, and Frugal Money Saver, I've mentioned them before, but I love that channel. And
I like that Lisa she's not hard and fast to the rules either. She's whatever works for you, works for you. It doesn't have to be one size fits all.
Yes.
Because it doesn't.
Because I did try I was being very particular, because that is my personality, and found that I'm a little looser, like even in recipes when I use it, if it calls for 100 grams of sourdough starter, that means nothing to me. I just pour it in.
Yeah.
I pour it in a cup and it's
overflowing.
And it's nice and stretchy and stringy, and I'm just like, a little more will be good, and I add a little bit more, and nothing bad has happened. So
what is your favorite kitchen tool and why?
Do you have one right off the top of your head?
Can you guess?
My guess for you,
it should be pretty easy if you think back to our snack prep day.
Yes, it should be your food processor.
Yep, that's my favorite one.
I washed it probably 6 times that day.
I use it for everything. But yeah, I killed mine a couple weeks ago, but I have a new one coming today that my husband's picking up, so.
Nice.
Yeah, I use that one for cutting in butter into doughs. I use it to chop up stuff. I use it for, like, if I'm making a protein-packed muffin that has cottage cheese, I always use that. Yeah, I use it for, making peanut butter. So much stuff.
Yeah.
Granola bars. Yeah, what's yours?
I would say my enamel-lined cast iron Dutch oven, because I like the way my food turns out with it. It's good heat distribution.
Yep.
It just tastes better. Things just taste better in all of my Dutch ovens, in all of my cast iron. I do like that. I really like my bread pans because they are. I do grease them, but I don't really need to grease them. They're just a good quality.
We're talking about USA pan?
Yes,
yeah,
I like really like those pans. I have a new food processor. I've only used it a couple times, maybe even only once, and I do like it, but I just haven't had much. I haven't needed it in the last little bit. But the other items I use either daily or a couple of times a week. So.
Yeah, I used my food processor daily before it died. It died making peanut butter. So.
Yeah. So I like my Instant Pot. I pretty much only use that for bone broth.
Yeah, I use mine for rice, and if I just space and forget that dinner is something I need to cook, and I only have frozen meat, then it goes in the Instant Pot. Yeah. All right, so this one will be more applicable for me right now, but you will have more experience. Balancing being a homemaker with very active kids. I feel like it's hard for me to give advice about this because this is still a tango that I'm learning. Especially this morning, it's been a rough day. My biggest tip is to either involve them or have open-ended toys that they can enjoy.
So I would agree to have the open-ended toys, and you also have to have realistic expectations of what you can accomplish.
I feel like
now.
I feel like washing more than 5 dishes in an hour is like an expectation that should be able to be met. Yes. That was my morning.
Yes. I think a lot of it, well, it depends on the child too, but sometimes they just have to know that you have things that you have to do, and you have to do them. And so you give clear expectations. Mom has to do this right here at this amount of time, and I have to do it. And so while I'm doing this, you are to do this, whatever it is, whatever you decide that is. Whether it's play with this, or play in your room, or read a book, or play together, whatever it is you've told them to do, you're setting the expectation. You're telling them, this is how long this should take. Once I get, if you don't have to be interrupted, that doesn't take very long.
Right.
But if you're interrupted 16 times in 5 minutes, then it's going to take a lot longer. So, and then follow through. When you say, this is what I expect, set the expectation. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. And then make sure this happens every time they don't do what expectation you've been set. And it is so hard.
Yes, it is.
It's so hard.
Yeah. And
I remember, you weren't born yet, but I remember my older girls are 20 months apart, and I was the naggy mom, the screamy naggy mom, and it was chaos. It was chaos all the time. And I you've heard this story before, but I remember the day that I said, this is it. This is the line is drawn in the sand. I am not accepting this behavior any longer, and I am not hollering any longer. And it was a rough couple of weeks that once I set them down, I apologized that I had not been doing my job correctly, that I, hadn't been training them the way I should be training them, and that I was out of control, not, I was screaming and frustrated and nagging, and I said, from now on, you are going to be disciplined every single time you don't obey the first time. After a couple of weeks, I started noticing that got less and less because they learned that I meant what I said.
Yeah.
And that if I said, you will have to go to your room and sit by yourself if you cannot do this right here, they had to go sit in their room by themselves, or whatever the consequence was going to be. It was laid out. Now sometimes they're just being childish.
Right.
That's different. That's a completely different thing. I'm talking about disobedience.
Right.
And so I'd say set the expectation and follow through with it.
Yes.
Because a lot of times kids are testing the boundary.
Yeah.
They're saying where is the boundary? They feel safer and secure with a boundary. And so if you haven't set a boundary and you're doing something, they want to know how does this relate to me? And to them, they're the universe. The universe revolves around them. They don't understand that there are other things that have to be done other than what their whims are, because they're just little.
Right.
But you set that expectation, you set the boundary, and then you hold the line.
Yeah.
And so initially it's extremely difficult, but it does get easier if you follow through. It does get easier. And so then later on, years later, I remember visiting a friend, and all you girls were down playing with her kids, and it was time to go. And I said, okay, girls, come get in the car. And they all finished what they were doing and got in the car. And she said, how did you do that? And I said, how did you do what? She said, you told me to get in the car. It's because I'd set the expectations years in advance and followed through on that. Not perfectly. I just want to say that. Not perfectly. I'm not perfect. She's not perfect. You're not perfect. None of us are. But boundaries are good for kids.
Yeah.
Setting the boundaries, like you said, giving them something to do.
Yeah.
Give them, maybe there's an activity that's only for that time when you really need to get something done.
Yeah,
so that's
did that
really
with
special.
A lot with my middle son. He can be rambunctious during school time, and it's hard for us to focus. So if I find, usually it's like Magnetiles or something like that I can set out, and he knows that he can play with it for that amount of time, and then it goes back up.
Something that's a special activity.
Yeah.
Because you have to do the dishes, you have to do the laundry, you have to prepare meals. Like you just have to.
Right. Another thing that I was thinking of, which is true for my kids a lot of times they're just looking for connection. If I notice that they're having a hard time, they're bickering, what they're really, if you look beneath the surface, what they're really asking for is connection. And if you start out the day rough, then you go immediately into chores, you haven't had any time to just sit and be with them, stop what you're doing and do that first. Pour into them first. Read a book with them, sit on the floor and play with them, even for like 10-15 minutes. And usually the day will go better after that. And honestly, I should have done that this morning. And I'm thinking back to it now, and that's what I should have done. I should have stopped doing the dishes, sat down with them, connected with them, poured into them for a few minutes, and I guarantee the day would have gone better. And sometimes you realize after the fact.
Right. And there's been times that I remember that if I'd be short-tempered or cranky, or I'd have to ask for forgiveness. For one thing. That's not bad to model asking for forgiveness when you have wronged them, because if you're having a nasty attitude toward them, that is wronging them. Also, sometimes, like, I've had to just stop and say, okay, Lord, I need your help. I can't do this, and huddle all together and let's pray and ask the Lord to help our day straighten out. Like, well, Lord, please forgive us for not putting you first and not trying to be calm and kind, and let's do better. So please help us do better. So.
Yeah, a lot of times when we have to do that, I tell the kids that we're going to rewind and start the day over. So we'll rewind like this and be like, good morning, how did you sleep? Even if it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and my kids love it. They laugh every time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. It usually resets the day. So we didn't get through quite all the questions. We're running out of time at this point. Nap time is coming to an end for the children. But a lot of these we can expand on in their own videos, especially the stuff in the kitchen. Actually, really all of them, not especially any one of them. All of them can be expanded into their own videos. So we'll try to do that, and we'll do another Q&A soon to finish up the ones that we didn't have time for today. So stay tuned for part 2, hopefully next week.
Okay.
See ya.